come on. There isn't like a day that goes by that Web3 isn't talked about, that crypto isn't talked about. If you're on Twitter, like, come on. Like, this is what people are speaking about.
Nicole Casperson here today, and we're doing a first ever. I don't know if this is a first ever for podcast, but it is for me. There are right now 3 AGC members watching us record live. So they will hear this conversation before anybody else, and they are going to have the opportunity to ask Nicole questions when we hit end of the recording. So I'm pretty excited about this new feature. Nicole, thanks for being game for recording live and knowing that there's going to be people who see if we make any mistakes.
It happens when you're a content creator. That's pretty normal.
Right.
Publish over caring about mistakes.
Exactly. Well, I am extremely excited to have you on. I have been following you from your days previous. I don't even want to mention the past, but I'm really excited about your new venture, and I want to make sure we learn about that. But I would say, aside from Caitlin Cook, Director of Community, Head of OnRamp Academy with me over OnRamp, you and Caitlin are kind of like the buzz right now in our world. So it's very exciting to have you coming off of this transition. And for me, you know, even though I followed you before, just in this short amount of time since the launch, I can see that you've basically had the shackles taken off and you get to be yourself and be free, which I experienced that starting my own firm. So I know how amazing that is for people who are very creative and have this big personality to just be themselves. So I'm excited to see what is going to be coming on. I did a brief intro before we recorded, but why don't you go ahead and give your own introduction? No one can tell our own story better than ourselves. So give a quick intro of who you are. Definitely tell us about what you're working on and what you're excited about there. And then we'll talk about this conversation about disruption.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Justin. You said it perfectly. And my CEO and founder at Work Week, the new place I'm at, Adam Ryan, we were in a meeting the other day, and he said that I've always had everything that I'm doing now in me. I was just bottled up in BS, and I'll spare the swearing, but and it's so true. And I'm glad that that's noticeable and resonating. But yes, I am Nicole Casperson. In short, I went from roughly 5 years as a corporate finance reporter and editor covering mortgages, auto finance, wealth management, and fintech to the founder, host, and creator of my own fintech content brand called WTFintech. I host a podcast and a newsletter, and I leverage Twitter to basically be a full-blown fintech news source. I drop scoops on Twitter. I share the exclusive interviews I have with, the best minds in fintech on the space. And then I also kind of just engage with the community. For me, it's really important to build a community in fintech that really does look and sound and feel different than what is already out there, because I look and feel and sound different than a lot of the other podcasts and newsletter and content creator hosts in the fintech space. So I'm really leveraging my differences there and using my voice for what feels like the first time, and I'm being encouraged to do it. So it's really exciting, and I'm so glad to have like the FinTwit community to be like, talked about alongside someone like Caitlin Cook is such an honor. That makes me feel really amazing and validated. So thank you for saying that. But yeah, otherwise, for the most part, a lot of folks think I went indie all on my own, which I didn't necessarily. I did join Workweek, a new media company founded by the former execs from The Hustle. And what they've built really is a media company that has turned traditional structures on its head. So naturally, it was a good fit for me to join as a founding content creator.
So we're going to talk about disruption today for financial advisors, but it's only fitting somebody who's at a company that's disrupting traditional media is the one who's going to talk about it. And you have this lens of the financial services space. So I'm interested to see where this conversation goes. We don't have to stick specifically to technology or services, like anything that you see coming our way as financial advisors as disruption. That's where I definitely want to go and talk about that. And the one final thing I want to talk about, this new opportunity for you and you being able to be yourself, like the pictures you rolled out when you announced everything, like, again, this is the first time that we're talking, but you can just see the genuine happiness in your face, the smile and the sparkle in your eyes with you just being able to have the mic and have the positioning and dress the way you were. Like, you could just see how excited you were. And as somebody who appreciates those little details, like I could see right away. And I was like, oh, she's gonna crush it above and beyond what she already was doing because now she gets to be herself. And the little tangent I'll spin on that is that's why I really love talking to advisors who are interested in going out on their own.
Hmm.
It's not right for everybody, but when they get an opportunity to go out on their own, or maybe find a situation like you did at Work Week where they will support you being an individual, it just takes everything to a whole new level. So I just again
Totally.
wanted to I wanted to applaud the rollout that you did. You commanded our attention. The branding was great. The
Thank
photography was
you.
great, and at the end of the day, you could just see that you're happy. So,
Oh, that's
so
what
let's
matters.
yeah, exactly. Like life is too short, and us advisors know that because we deal with the bad side of the financial planning world. So let's get right to disruption. And I think I saw you tweeted or somewhere that you had mentioned that disruption's coming to financial services, and it's ultimately going to find its way to financial advisors. What's your crystal ball showing you? What do you see that's most right for disruption? And maybe we can start just financial services first, and then
Hmm.
take it down a level to us financial advisors, since that's the audience for the most part of this podcast.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I got to give a shout out to um, Anton Briones, our creator manager at Workweek, because he helped creative direct and style all of those photos and things that you see. But yes, all based on just getting to know who I am. And also Scott Kaplan photos for filming and taking those photos that you gave so much credit for. But thank you so much. Anyway, so yes, with financial advisors, in the financial advice, or I guess financial services space in general, when I think of disruption, I do like to think about also where like the money is going, like follow the money. Last night, I paid attention to a panel with all female VCs. One of them from Upfront Ventures, Cowboy Ventures, and even Anthemis. And my crystal ball says that a lot of money and innovation is in wealth tech for 2022 and beyond. These women said everything that I feel like I've been preaching for so long. And this is what it is. FinTech has really given the world of wealth management a serious privilege check throughout the last year, and largely due to the pandemic. And thank goodness, right? The massive adoption of digitization and increased investor interest to have financial advice or investing or wealth management or just financial services capabilities on your phone has changed the game, and the industry is finally taking notice of the young female BIPOC media savvy investor that is really dominating the market and is also poised to inherit what is it like $70 trillion in the greatest generational wealth transfer in the coming years. So next gen is really dominating the market. Their expectations are different. Their expectations for their relationship with their wealth manager and advisor, or any financial services for that matter, is different. They embrace digital communication. They love transparency and authenticity. They want you to leverage technology so that you can be a human and relate to the customer or the user, right? Be able to be yourself. And it's that's across all industries, right? Like Justin, you mentioned how I get more engagement being myself than I ever did writing for the trade publications I did. I never thought that would happen. I thought I had to stay under these legacy publications to have any credibility behind my name. And, of course, they were a stepstone and helped. But with the world changing, people want information, advice, services from people. And that's where fintech, wealth tech, financial advisors can really shine. I think that's why the RIA space is growing so fast. I think that's why the niche financial advisor or planner is growing so fast, because you have the ability to actually connect to someone who looks and feels like you. So that's like kind of the main thing. There's also obviously the growing demand for ethical investing options, and frankly, people just want to be a part of something that does good for the world, right? Not only does good for them, but for the world. Fintech and our maturing technology, what makes it so exciting right now is that is how mature it has gotten. We're at a point where everyone can have a slice of the pie. Whether you're the advisor, you're the operator, you're the CEO of that fintech company, or you're the end consumer, like everyone can make money and everyone can be happy. There's enough of it to go around, and fintech proves that. So, and it can only prove that though if it's built on ethical and accessible options. So But the way that is the last thing I'll say on my State of the Union of what my crystal ball says is that what these trends have done is create a tech ecosystem, if you will, in the wealth management space, where wealth managers' wallet share will increase because they're unifying a client's entire financial world onto a single platform. So this is where account aggregation comes in. This is why integration is the frontier of fintech. This is why like you're seeing tech providers get smaller fintechs get gobbled up, right? Like RAA in a Box just got acquired by ComplySci today, and we're seeing that in a lot of stuff, other areas in wealth tech and just fintech in general. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, the key takeaway to take away from all of this is that wealth managers really are going to be held to a higher standard, and they really do need to automate the coordination of their clients' accounts. And in order to actually give that suitable advice and become, that full blown kind of almost financial like life coach that people are really craving. And we talk about the Amazon experience a lot, but it's like Amazon experience plus. It's more than just leveraging technology for that next best action. It's leveraging that technology to get the next best action, and then you putting your own take and spin on that so that you can connect with the user more.
I definitely want to hit the client experience and relationship towards the end because I want to ask you because I would view for a lot of advisors, especially younger advisors building their businesses with exciting people, you would be an ideal client, somebody who is on a rocket ship up as far as success and where you're going with your career. You're probably going to need help. You're exciting to be around. So like, what is it that you would want from a relationship? So we'll get that to the end. I'll tease that with there's something that really sticks out for me with my conversation with Jack Butcher a couple months ago. And he said that he really, like from an advisor standpoint, he would want somebody to be more of a sounding board. That it's not so much about managing the investments for him. He knows how to go make money. He's way ahead of the curve when it comes to what's going on in crypto and DeFi. So it's not so much make my money grow. It's make sure I don't make any major mistakes. And then also make sure that I have my house in order to protect my family. So I wonder if more and more of the young, creative, entrepreneurial potential clients are looking more for a sounding board or really an advisory type of relationship rather than the traditional management side. So we'll come back to that. I want to circle back to the panel that you saw, and I'm curious if with the future of where things are going and building these new companies that are going to be better suited for users and what users want, is there an advantage that you see from women-led companies of building these for the future? And I want to kind of try to explain where my thought process is in it, just to see, let's just take from investing standpoint. Stereotypically, women are better investors. They're less emotional. They aren't as confident. The numbers are there. The statistics are there. That's probably going to anger some of the men that might listen, but that's the studies that have been shown. Right. That's the studies have shown. I wonder if because of, the difference in the way that men operate, the way they're hardwired, and women, that the way to build this fintech community in this fintech space that's going to be more personal and more to the end user, a woman's approach to doing things is going to be better for building that. And I don't know if I did a good job explaining that, but at the end of the day, there are differences between men and women. We can't debate that. And I wonder if the way that women approach building things and the way they're thinking of the relationships, if that gives them an advantage to build this new fintech software coming forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And I love that you ask it because at the end of the day, the answer is yes. Women are based just because of the societal standards that have been placed on us for the last forever is makes us inherently better. Well, better is not a good word. Just like more innovative when it comes to like diversifying a team, building out a team, creating a fintech, building out products that really look and feel and sound like the end consumer, which is growing to be more women, to be more BIPOC. Why is that? Because women have had to just fight the fight harder, right? So they've been at a disadvantage. Half of the population has been considered a minority, and that is like insane. But the best way to kind of think of it is, I think the stats are really telling. So 1% of global VC funding goes to women, and then less than 1% if you're a woman of color. Yet the female founded fintech companies that are VC backed, their revenue is twice as high as a male founded fintech. So what is like the discrepancy there, right? There's obviously some sort of disconnect, because if investors really wanted to, just straight thinking, oh, I want to invest in the best company, I want to invest in the company that's going to make me the most money, it would obviously be the stats show you, it would be the female-led one. So why is that? Why is that not happening? And it's because of I think it's a lot of the reason is the relationship of the VC world. And it's why, it's so exciting to see like a panel of 4 VC-led, female-led VC firms last night, kind of controlling the energy, right, of fintech funding. But yeah, so if there's majority male VCs, majority male founders, then they are going to kind of stick within your circle. As humans, it's very common for us to, feel more comfortable with people, right? I said it earlier with how certain niches work, right? Like you want to, consume content from someone that relates to you. You want to, have your information or your financial services from someone that feels like you and understands you. And a lot of the time, that's someone that also just happens to look like you. So it's really easy to keep your networks and your village looking the same. So that's why intentional inclusion is like so important. You have to really go out there and decide, hey, you know what? If my entire village around me looks the same, who the hell is checking my blind spots? Like who is ensuring that I'm really being that sounding board, right? Like who's going to tell me when I'm wrong? And that's something I've built, not just in my profession, but in my content. I do it in my life. My friend group, I want to make sure I have a diverse friend group so that, I'm interacting with people on just in different ways, and that is inherently influencing my work as well and my whole being. But anyway, the point is, yes, men and women are different. Men and women, we all need to be on the same page in making the playing field equal. And we have to first respect the problem. The problem is very real and it's there. And honestly, the systemic gender and race diversity issues that financial services and fintech, frankly, face, they're there and they're very real. And you have to respect the problem before you address it. And so I think half the issue is some people don't even want to accept that there is a problem. I've had a former colleague once say, why are more women not RIA owners when the door is wide open to them? I mean, I wanted to like punch a wall, because it's like you're not even thinking about the door is not wide open. Like, look at the stats, right? And so women have had to fight an uphill battle much longer the entire time, which just makes them even more, have that kind of grit, if you will. Imagine if it took you that long to finally get a piece of funding, or, it was really, really hard. Wouldn't you fight 10 times more to ensure that you made yourself successful? I find that true in my own day-to-day. So I just think that's something across the board with a lot of industries, and not just fintech and financial services and VC.
Well, and I appreciate you going deeper into that question. That wasn't on the questions that I sent you, and I didn't know we were going to go there. But I do think it's important to discuss. I never want to be somebody who shies away from the uncomfortable conversations, because just talking about it and bringing it up there, I think, is the only way that things get fixed. And I've had these conversations on videos and things before. So while it wasn't a part of the agenda, I think it is important. And ultimately, that's going to be part of the disruption as well. We're going to see more and more women-led companies, hopefully more and more women-led RIAs coming to market. And that's going to change the landscape, because it's going to be different. And I think that's a good thing. So what other areas of disruption do you see that you're kind of excited for, whether it be opportunities in investing, other technology that's coming? Like, what are the things that advisors who are not talking to the people that you're talking to, because most advisors aren't, they're still traditional and status quo, that's comfortable. What is coming that might be a rude awakening for us?
I guess crypto isn't the thing to say just yet because it's already here. um, I think the rude awakening. I would maybe go to our Twitter friend Simon Treisner. Might be uh, butchering his last name. Sorry, Simon. But he says that inaction is a cost in itself. And so I think the big, I guess, hurdle, if you will, is an advisor that does choose to be stuck in their ways. When I made the switch in my job and made a big splash with that announcement, someone had messaged me and said, "You're so brave. Like, you're so brave. It's so brave to go out on your own." And I felt the complete opposite. I felt it would have been scarier to stay. And I think that's the same mindset that any advisor should have. I totally understand having a niche, and maybe if you're older, that makes sense for you. But all that means is that there's even more room for younger and different advisors to come make a splash, right? And that's very similar to what I did in the media space. I saw a gap that no one was filling, or that, at least that I saw, was filling. And I think advisors can do the same. And the beauty is that you can leverage technology to do it. And that's why I get so excited about fintech. And going back to the VC ladies, that conversation when they were asked by the moderator, what are they most excited for heading into 2022? They literally were like wealth management technology and consumer fintech. That space is going to get even bigger, and it's barely scratched the surface. Like advisors have fintech's been too busy like creating embedded finance and like building like banking infrastructure to like actually address like the wealth tech space and consumer fintech. I mean, obviously it's happening now and very fast, and we've seen so much disruption and so many big players pop up, but it's only a matter of time before that grows even more. So advisors really need to be like down to embrace those technologies, and if you're not embracing them, at the very least understanding them. And frankly, the same could be said for crypto.
We're going to get to crypto in a second. Could you give an example of maybe just a couple of what those technologies might be? And then I have a follow-up question about technology and advisors and the threat that there might be. But like maybe just one example of some of the technology that you think advisors need to embrace.
Yeah, I mean, anything that has to do with data aggregation or account aggregation. Big fan of Judd Mackerel and what he's created at Mile Marker, because that does address that issue really well, like as a SaaS company. I think understanding the robo-advisors as almost a like somewhat of like a graduation program. Obviously, a lot of the big robos out there, they do incorporate financial advice into, and they're building out, like Betterment has, made it clear that they're very bullish on building out their Betterment for Advisor space. But, it's really about understanding the robos, instead of saying like, no, 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 I'm better than a robo. Like, you don't need that. It's all about the hybrid, right? Like hybrid work, remote and office, or hybrid everything. And so that's exactly the same with the technology. So understanding those, I literally could not stress account aggregation enough. Some of the, and obviously financial planning technology, incumbent wise, Morgan Stanley is, building something really great with their platform. They basically, when I spoke with their folks of head of financial planning and technology, they completely rebuilt their house over the last decade to be able to kind of cater to that account aggregation. Outside of incumbents, obviously like an Orion, an InvestNet, an InvestCloud, which had all of their acquisition news. Those are kind of the formidable competitors and fintechs in the space that are addressing that need, right? I mean, InvestNet's made it very clear that they are pushing to build that tech ecosystem to be able to have all of those account aggregations together. So it's literally about having that full 360 view of everything that's going on in your client's portfolio and their lives, frankly. But technology for the portfolio part, you for the life part. And then being able to use that to give them the experience of, here's your next best action. Here's what I think you could do next. Or just be the sounding board, right? So that's kind of, those are some examples of, I think, the technologies that make the most sense. Of course, before you get into all of that, you have to I'm pretty sure there's like a Schwab study out there that says advisors that actually like write down and outline who their ideal customer is just have greater assets and grow faster. So obviously you have to do a little soul searching first, right? I had to do it when I started my brand. I sat and answered like 10 questions, like one, and it's the same with an advisor when you build any business, right? Like, what is your value proposition? Who is your audience? What is your mission? All of that stuff. Lay all that out, and then find the technologies that make sense for that. And then find the technologies that have a lot of integrations, because those are the ones that are going to be much more helpful to you moving forward.
You mentioned technology for like the management, but us for the people side. Advisors have been threatened by talk, let's just call it talk, for years since robos came out, that technology is going to replace us. Obviously, I'm biased. I don't think that a robo advisor or technology is going to fully replace what it is that I would do with my clients, because there's the human component of it. And so much of personal finance, Tim Auer says personal finance is more personal than finance. I don't doubt that there will be a certain group of individuals who don't need that personal side, that they're perfectly content handling it all on their own, leveraging technology. But do you see anything that threatens the advisor role and relationship as far as, okay, advisors are going to be fully replaced by technology?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think advisors will ever fully be replaced by technology. A surprising opinion coming from a zillennial, I call myself these days. But I'll share one of my favorite stats recently is from Ernst & Young, from one of their global wealth research reports from this year. And it says that over half of wealth management clients are willing to pay more for personalized service. And the majority of wealth management clients, it was 70%, maybe over 70%, are willing to share personal data with their primary wealth manager, which is a higher proportion than those willing to share their personal information with their doctors. Like, people are literally more, I love that stat. People are more interested in getting real with an advisor or a wealth manager and their finances than they are to talk about their health. And I'm probably one of those people part of that stat, to be fair. Doctors kind of scare me a little. But anyway, I foresee, that personalization continuing. I think that because of that, there's never going to be a time that advisors are replaced by technology. Technology is your friend, not foe. It's not replacing you. Robots, what's the other fun phrase? It's robots or raises. That doesn't have anything to do with this as much, but anyways, that actually could be right. If you are an RIA, you either help pay your employees more or replace them with robots, right? Anyway, but back to your question. I think that it's important to understand the technologies, right? OnRamp does a good job of expressing that when it comes to crypto. If you don't want anything to do with it, I guess that's fine. But, that just leaves room for your client to go down the street to the next advisor that is interested in that technology, that wants to come on. There isn't a day that goes by that Web3 isn't talked about, that crypto isn't talked about. If you're on Twitter, come on. This is what people are speaking about. What did I tweet the other day? That BlockFi study that 1 in 10 Americans plan on buying crypto for a present this holiday season, and that they would rather talk about crypto than, I mean, this is probably not so surprising, would rather talk about crypto than their politics or love life. That could save a lot of family feuds this holiday season. Thank you, crypto. But technology in general, right? So it's always going to be here. It is something you need to leverage instead of be fearful of, because the DocuSign ain't gonna cut it. That's not innovative enough. It has to be so much more than that. It has to be how do I, automate my billing, my rebalancing and trading? How do I, right, leverage certain apps to be able to do that? Obviously, like an altruist does an amazing job of providing those things, and kind of a digital custody, if you will, um, to more independent advisors who, frankly, are small business owners, and being able to support them. Which, by the way, those VC ladies also said they're super interested in providing, in like investing in fintechs that help small business owners be just more financially equipped.
Interesting. So I think one thing I want to hammer home is the leveraging of the leveraging of the technology, not viewing it as competition, but viewing it as a way to leverage what it is. And I think that embracing it is going to be a big part of being an advisor of tomorrow and being successful, and not being stubborn and not wanting to bring it on. You brought up crypto, so I think it's a great time to kind of go down that path real quick. I don't want to spend the whole episode on it. Before we do, I'm gonna do the first thing I've ever done. I'm gonna have an on-ramp commercial. So we right back after we talk about on-ramp for a second. Hey there, sorry to interrupt this great conversation with Nicole Casperson, but we couldn't head down the crypto road without me taking a moment to talk about OnRamp Invest. Now, yes, I'm a bit biased as I'm chief of staff there, as well as my role at RLS Wealth, but I am using OnRamp Invest in my practice to help clients with their crypto assets. So not only do I work for the company, but I am using it in my practice so I can speak to you and how it's helping me advise my clients with their crypto. The high level of it is OnRamp Invest is an integration platform as a service company. We are bringing crypto to the advisor tech stack. We're integrating with CRMs, risk tolerant softwares, all-in-one portfolio solutions, and going to find all of those companies that you know and love and eventually bring everything to them. Also allowing advisors to buy and hold crypto on behalf of their clients. Think your traditional custodians only on the crypto side. Now you can allocate to crypto on behalf of your clients. Or if you don't want to do that, you can see what they're holding away, pull it in, be able to incorporate it in the financial plan, and give them the advice that they need. I've said many, many times that advisors cannot afford to not discuss crypto and bring that into the planning relationship. How you bring that to the planning relationship, totally up to you. And if you're just getting started, the good news is OnRamp has OnRamp Academy as well, where we have all of the education, all of the tools, all the practice management information you need to begin to incorporate crypto into your practice. Don't be late. We're going to talk about being early adopters here in a little bit in this conversation. You don't have to go crazy into it, but you need to be able to talk about it with your clients at the very minimum. So check it out, onrampinvest.com. Schedule yourself a demo, play around with it a little bit, see what it is. Check out OnRamp Academy, the great information in there, and begin to figure out how you're going to incorporate this exciting space into your practice. All right, enough of this. Let's head back to my conversation with Nicole. So crypto. Kind of what is your perspective, and thinking again from the advisor lens? And I'll give a little color just because I am an advisor. I have my RIA. I have clients who have crypto. I'm using the OnRamp platform as a part of my tech stack, but I talk to a lot of advisors all of the time, and there's still a lot of learning that needs to happen. OnRamp Academy, educate before you allocate. So like advisors are afraid of the space. There's still a lot of advisors who don't trust it. And what I say to those advisors is you don't have to like the crypto space to be able to help your clients. And I was on a webinar earlier this week, and I've talked about before, even everything from tax planning to estate planning, like you can help by addressing the crypto asset space without making any recommendations on Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever it may be. And this space is not going anywhere. As you kind of alluded to, Web3 is talked about every single day, cryptos every single day. You either run the risk of falling way behind and losing business, or you talked about the wealth transfer before. I always quote 68 trillion, but I guess the market's up, so it probably is closer to 70 now. Like those people, those people inheriting that are interested in this space, and that's what excites me about all of this. So I think that on my soapbox, advisors run the risk of significantly handicapping themselves if they can't have conversations and they can't address crypto within the planning process. Again, you don't have to love it. You can tell people not to do it, but you still need to be able to help them estate planning, tax planning, all those things. When you look at the disruption coming, like where does crypto fit into all of that, and like what excites you about that space?
Oh gosh, especially the estate and the tax planning. Oh, it's so important. I'm actually it's more for retail investors, but I'm going to there's a new fintech out there called Reconcile Money, And it found the founder found me on Twitter, and we got connected, and I'll be rolling out some news about them and that company in my newsletter today. Aside, crypto does remind me a little bit of like mass hysteria when the prices drop, like, which is why I love what Caitlin Cook said on Cheddar earlier this week and why I wrote about it in my newsletter. But at the end of the day, crypto is exciting because of the door it's open. Like a lot of the reason is really because of the door it's open for people to be interested in financial services. I'll like say it once and say it again. This is the first time in my life that my profession has been cool. Like this, it's so awesome. I'm so glad I'm like just in my like late 20s and it's cool. Yeah, because for a while it was not. Like for a while I would be at a bar or be in a social setting and like say I write about finance or fintech or whatever, and it usually got like that's cool, and then someone else like let me go find something else that's interesting, or they just didn't know about it. And now that conversation is like everyone is so engaged with me that I literally have been like outside of House of Yes, which is like a world famous nightclub, at like 4 a.m. in like fishnets and glitter being asked about crypto. And I'm like, I'm like, I love talking about crypto, guys, but like maybe not now. Anyway, but so funny. So, and obviously the debate over cryptocurrency is still shaky because, when the price plummets, people freak out. Obviously, I think Caitlin nailed it on its head, right? When for investors who haven't been educated before they allocate crypto assets, they experience anxiety, basically, right? They get emotional, they get scared, which is understandable if you're not educated on how something works, and so they contribute to those sell-offs. And then, I think it's interesting to think about. Crypto not being as immune to those global macro shocks or the news of something like a variant. That I think is something, how would you ever know unless you took the time to educate? I mean, it is why I'm such a fan of OnRamp and what you guys do because, and kudos to what you've done with the partnership with Ritholtz Wealth Management and Wisdom Tree, because you literally are like tying in all of it together, right? Like, in one go, you can have your education, you can have your allocations, you can have your practice management and like portfolio allocation understanding all in a tech stack. Something never really done before. So I do think that advisors you have no choice. Like, I don't know how. I think, unfortunately, with innovations, right, we're going to have to keep having this discussion for a while. We've been having the, women deserve to have more VC funding conversation for my whole life and beyond that. So I imagine crypto still has like a long way to go before we, get into that place where more advisors embrace it and embrace that education. Because as you said, right, it's just about knowing about something. Imagine if you hired like a professional in financial services. Like, I expect a finance pro to be a finance pro. If I were to ask you, I don't know anything about crypto, but like it's super interesting. What do you think? And someone was like, no, you don't want to touch that. No. I'd just be like, okay. Like even in a newsroom, like I've sat in newsrooms before when crypto was first booming. I think it took me like 3 hours to write my first, maybe longer, to write my first crypto story because I was still understanding it. And like I had editors that were just like, this is, because they're like old dinosaurs. They were like, this is just ridiculous. Like this is just ridiculous. This is nothing. And like fast forward to today, and I'm like, that's funny. Like I kind of knew it would be something. Maybe it takes a younger view. I don't want to like put ageism into it, but you know what I mean? Like maybe it just takes, I don't think you have to be young to have open minds. But I think it just takes someone with that like open-mindedness, that modern viewpoint to say like, wanted to swear, but things change.
You can cuss. That's no big deal.
This is an adult podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, shit changes. Things are different. And just roll with it. Like, what are you gonna do? Were you planning on having like a BlackBerry for the rest of your life, or were you gonna eventually get that iPhone 13 Pro Max? Like, what the hell? So, jump on the train or get left behind. And there's something weird about like jumping on innovation trains. I feel like people just feel like they want to like stick with their traditional mindsets, and that's cool, But like, that's just not how our world is. And there's so many other ways to influence people, and social media is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
These investing apps aren't going anywhere. Coinbase, I don't think, is going anywhere. So, yeah, you got to jump on and be a part of it, and just not be a part of the mass hysteria. Because frankly, if you're telling your clients like, no, 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 don't even mess with that, then you're kind of a part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. I will defend the advisor space a little, and I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
this is what you were getting to, but to people on the outside, they don't understand and realize all of the regulatory hurdles that we have as advisors and compliance
True.
and being able to be able to jump on innovation early on. And secondarily, I think that the dismissal was okay back in 2017. When everybody first started to hear about it and had a big run in 2017, I think it was okay to say, okay, this seems kind of funny. I don't trust it quite yet. It crashed. It didn't go away. It recovered. And then now we kind of have it again. I don't think you can do that same dismissal because now you've known it for a while. You've been able to watch it,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been able to see that it's able to survive some ups and downs. So I think that dismissal, I'd give you a pass back then. And that was when I was just really first learning about it. But I don't think you get that pass today. But I do think as a fiduciary, there's two kind of hurdles as a fiduciary. One, we can't do things that are going to harm our clients. And I don't think an advisor should be allocating or advising on crypto if they don't know, because they're going to cause harm. But I also think that we run the risk of not living up and upholding our fiduciary responsibility if we aren't able to help clients with this
Exactly.
space. So it's kind of double-edged sword for a little bit, that you don't want to jump in too early before you understand and blow your clients up. But you also can't not know about it, because then you can't help them when they need it, and they can blow themselves up because you're not willing to learn. So I definitely think that there is that obstacle, but too many advisors hide behind that and don't go forward because it's compliance and all these other reasons not to. I think again that's going to cause them to be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, I have some planned content I'm going to do, but I'll tease it now. What really, I think once an advisor or anybody gets past the surface level of Bitcoin as an asset class and the growth behind it, and they really, and this is something that I've just been lucky to see working at OnRamp. Once they see what really is going on in crypto and the DeFi space and the disruption that's coming
Mm-hmm.
across the globe, and they understand the freedom and the access and the power that crypto provides to individuals who have never had it before. And I'm not even talking about unbanked. Like, we hear that a lot, and that's
Mm-hmm.
very true. But you and I now have more control and power than we've ever had in the past, thanks to what's coming down the world, crypto. You look at NFTs and the creator and being able to create income
Yeah.
streams off of the work that you create. Like, that was never there. And I was talking to Eric Irvin, our co-founder, and I said, if the institutions have always controlled 99% of the power, I think crypto and DeFi are going to give the average person like you and I 5%, which doesn't sound like a lot. But if we go from 99% being controlled by the people who have always controlled it, and the institutions and organizations like the Chases and the Bank of Americas, and we pull 5% of that power from them and give it to the individual, like that's a meaningful number. And then what happens from there is you and I understand that this is actually a possibility. We're not going to turn away from that. We're going to find more ways to give ourselves more opportunity and help other people. So that's what excites me. And I don't have to pick the right crypto asset to ride that wave. If I believe that and really see the opportunity, then as long as I'm in one of the ones that's tried and true. So for me, that's Bitcoin and ETH. If I'm in there and what I believe is going to happen plays out, those will be fine. So I might not hit Shiba and have 1,000% return in 6 months. I don't really need that. Bitcoin and ETH will do everything that I need if this space does what I think it will. And what gives me that core belief is seeing the bigger picture of what this is bringing on a global front. So I have more there. I got a little bit of a tangent. We're running up against time, and I want to make sure we hit this next question. And then I also have to find out what your walkout song is. So I want to hear what you would want from a relationship with a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you would expect to have from an advisor?
Mm-hmm. Well, once I'm a millionaire. Well, now
Well,
if
problem
I were
number
to think of
one
it,
is you shouldn't have to be a millionaire to have a financial advisor. So,
right? There we go. Exactly. I mean, that is one. I agree with that so much. And there are spaces where that is becoming more available, right? Obviously, traditionally wealth managers charged based on the AUM, which limited their client bases, and now we're seeing more advisors move away from that and charging a separate fee to open up planning for more investors, which kudos to the ones that are doing that, because it is so critical. How are you ever going to open access to a wider client base if you don't have transparent fees and work for that broader audience? They aren't just going to come. But anyways, I feel like I am I am robo advising right now. I don't have a human advisor. I personally want to kind of reach a certain level of my wealth building process before I find an advisor. But for me, an advice this as I mean, yeah. If I'm being fully honest, I want my advisor to, you know, probably be just as connected to me as like my therapist, right? Like I want to be able to choose, someone that kind of obviously has my same values, understands me, isn't gonna mansplain things to me or talk to me, differently. So yeah, that's what I would be looking for. I'd be looking for that someone that can connect, that young woman of color, advisor that understands that, maybe I'm someone that has a lot of experience with technology, but not a lot of experience with a human advisor. I really wouldn't know exactly where to begin finding mine. So, all right, there we go. Apparently, I'm like ripe for to have an advisor, right? Like someone come help me. But anyway, so that's what I would want. I want someone that that almost feels like a friend, someone that I could connect with. That I could text and be like, yo, I want to invest in this. Is that weird? Or like someone that is frankly just easy to connect with. I wouldn't mind texting with my advisor. I know that's like controversial. If they had that relationship like I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to get like cold called or like weird emails. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a friend-like advisor. No, frankly, I can think of some that I could think of like a couple of a couple women around my age actually that would fit.
I think that's perfectly fair. I think that's great because it's highlighting. I mean, it's not too different from some of the stuff that Jack said. Like he wanted to say he didn't want to be reprimanded for buying $100,000 on a Bored Ape or something. Just like it's a different relationship. So I think that's perfect. And I think that's more of where things are going. We've talked about life planning in the past and kind of moving away from just focusing on the numbers. And like I have a lot of thoughts there. So I think that description you gave is great. And if you need help finding an advisor, I've got a tremendous network of advisors. I already have a few in my mind that I could connect you with whenever you're ready. That would fit the description you just gave if you ever need that. So, well, let's get to our final question, and then the AGSIM members that are there, hang on a couple more minutes, and we'll get you access to Nicole for some questions. If you were a keynote speaker, and this is the question I ask everybody at a conference, which is that's happening now, and you were allowed to have walkout music, so you're coming out, what would your walkout song be?
Yeah, my first reaction is definitely Miley Cyrus's "We Can't Stop." I feel like walking out on stage and just hearing like, "It's my party, I can do what I want," and like, "It's my mouth, I can say what I want," kind of embodies me right now.
Okay.
I know you're like a hip hop fan, so if I were to think more on that side, I'm pretty obsessed with Doja Cat right now. And obviously Megan Thee Stallion if you read my newsletter. Mm-hmm. But between my favorite song to listen to in this moment is "Woman" by Doja Cat. So I'd probably pick that too because I feel like that also embodies what I stand for. So those are my options. I'm waiting for the day I'm a keynote speaker and I hear like, "It's my party, I can say what I want." Whatever.
I love it. And we got some singing in here. That was great. I didn't expect to get your debut as an artist. So
goodness.
Well, before we plug all of your social, the newsletter, all that stuff, and I subscribe to the newsletter the day that you said it's coming, like, hey, subscribe here when it drops. So I get it. We'll do that. But anything else that maybe we want to recap on the disruption that I forgot to ask or to tie things up? And if not, we can hop into where everybody can find you and follow you in the new podcast and everything.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap up the conversation, I would just say it's, for advisors, it's really about being open-minded. It's about exploring technologies outside of just the ones that you're already using, or maybe, figuring out among the ones you're using what makes the most sense in terms of account aggregation and integration. and also being able to understand technologies, go play around with some technologies, like download some apps, understand what these are like, so that you can connect with your client that is interested. Whether it is that trading or investing app, or the robo advisor, or it's crypto. I'd say that's a big takeaway, because access and personalization are everything. Client experience is everything. And if you don't, there's the chance that there's more and more advisors and RAs out there serving certain niches. So if not you, it will be someone else.
All right, that's a good note to end that conversation. So where can everybody find you? Newsletter, all that stuff, and I'll have them in the show notes per every podcast. That's what we do. But where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can mostly find me on Twitter at Nicole Casperson. My social handle is at Nicole Casperson for everything. I'm also on the gram, though that is mostly just pictures of my cat. My newsletter is called WTFintech. It is spelled WTFintech with a question mark. You can go to workweek.com and click on my little sticker head. And subscribe to my newsletter there. Thank you, Justin, for shouting it out, because I've doubled subscribers like every week, and it's been so amazing. And then my podcast is dropping next Wednesday, December 15th. I've set a couple different dates. I promise. December 15th is the date. The only reason any delay has happened is just because I'm got a lot of exciting kind of other news to couple with it. So. But it is coming. It is fire. You guys are gonna love it. It's so good. It's authentic and candid, and it's really picking the brains of the best minds in fintech. So excited to share it. That's about it for me. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, we'll have links to all that, and I'll be circulating your stuff when it comes out on social media, retweeting it and sharing it, everything. I want to thank you for taking the time to come talk with us and kind of talk about disruption. I had an idea as you were talking about your brand earlier. I may have to have you come back on for a shorter little segment talking about the success of building your brand, maybe give you 6-9 months of building it out there and what you learned. And I thought if maybe I could find some of the hottest brands in the fintech space and financial services space and do little segments on what did you learn, what would you do different, and put together kind of this episode of the best brands out there conversation. So I will be having you back to see what you learned.
Oh, all right. I love it. I love that I'm already a best brand in the future. Yes. Thank you. Put that into existence.
Hey,
I appreciate that.
I'm a big believer in manifesting things and putting it out there.
Thank you.
It'll be there.
Yes. Put it to the universe.
All right. Well,
thank you so much, Justin.
You're welcome. Everybody listening and watching on the later episodes of this, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to share, like, subscribe, all those things. Appreciate your support. AGC members, hang on real tight. We'll have some one-on-one questions. And if you're not an AGC member and you want to have access to these podcasts beforehand, advisorgc.com. Taylor Schulte and I are actually having an information service system on the 14th at 1 o'clock Eastern. So there's some stuff floating around there. You can register, learn more about the community, and come join us and have access to podcasts like this before they drop. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next episode.